Playing two sides of the coin may get somebody hurt, but in Miss Richiel's case, it seems it got her what she wanted. The consequences of her action are here as she's on paternity court, but at least she enjoyed her life for a while.
Ms. Rochelle, you are desperate to determine the biological father of your 4-year-old daughter, Jasmine. You confess that one man signed your daughter's birth certificate, yet another man is paying child support. Now, Mr. Harris, you're the potential father who is paying support for a child you believe is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Richiel successfully got a man to sign her daughter's birth certificate and another man to pay child support. That's interesting. However, Mr. Harris is in court with his wife, and he's eager to know if the child he's been paying child support for and even got locked up for is truly his child. That's a little bit sad, but let's dig into this.
Ms. Rochelle, how did you meet Mr. Harris?
I was living across the street from him, and I seen him standing out there, and I was like, oh, he is fine.
Okay, so you guys met, and at some point you started a sexual relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
Those stories don't seem to match. Ms. Richiel believed she was in a relationship with Mr. Harris, but Mr. Harris said it wasn't anything like that because, to him, it was just a hookup. Judging by Ms. Richiel's face, one can guess she knew along the line, but that woman fell for that fine man, and she didn't care if it was a hookup or not.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was over at a friend's house, and I was feeling nauseated, and so she kept saying, you're pregnant, you're pregnant. I was like, no, I'm not. Don't do that to me. And so therefore, I went over to the house and I took a pregnancy test, and it turned out positive.
Thanks to Ms. Richiel's friend for letting her know something was up. Ms. Richiel's unplanned pregnancy wasn't the problem, seeing how she informed the other potential biological father, but ignored telling Mr. Harris. How come Mr. Harris's name ended up in the child support agreement then?
Mr. Harris, I want to hear a little bit more about how you ended up paying child support for a child when you're not listed as the father, but you paying child support. How did that happen?
I really don't know.
You missed your appointment for your DNA test.
Yeah, that's how it happened. I missed my DNA appointment, so I had another appointment, but I didn't make that one also. So they just deemed me as the father without actually having DNA.
You were named the father by default because
Yes.
you failed to show up for your DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Harris missed a DNA test appointment twice? Now that's Mr. Harris's fault. He should have put everything he was busy doing on hold to get that DNA test done. If he did, he wouldn't be in paternity court right now going through this, or would have previously gone to jail for child support payment for a child. He isn't sure is his.
So you didn't show and you were deemed to be the father by default. So now you get hauled off to jail at some point?
Yes.
What happened?
They came to the house. At first I thought I was arrested because of traffic tickets, because that's what the police told me. But once I got to the jail, they actually pulled up my record and said that I owe like $6,000 back in child support. So I guess I owe for over a couple of years or so, I guess.
2.5 months behind bars for a baby you are not sure is yours is insane. But Mr. Harris messed it all up by missing his appointments. It also seems like Miss Richiel doesn't care so much about Mr. Harris's situation, but playing both sides isn't right.
Your Honor, when she first started contacting me on his phone, it was on Father's Day last year, June 15th. That's the day after he went to jail. She kept on writing, Happy Father's Day, love, Jasmine. And I was like, who in the heck is this person? And I never seen.
Because you never heard anything about
I
it.
never heard anything about her
And
at
you're
all.
his wife.
Yeah, well, I wasn't then, but we were dating at the time.
You were dating.
Yes, but I never heard of her. Never heard of a Jasmine at all.
Mr. Harris's wife didn't know about the whole Mr. Harris and Ms. Richiel hookup or supposed relationship arrangement that led to a baby at first. However, Ms. Richiel made her know, and she believes 4-year-old Jasmine looks like her husband, but just like anybody else, it hurts Mr. Harris's wife and she wants it to be over.
Are there any other possibilities? Any other men?
No, there's
She
not.
said there was one, Your Honor.
She told you there was one
Yes.
other?
When we started talking last year, when he was in jail, she never told me who, but she said one other guy besides my husband.
So where's the third guy?
There is only 2. Because
Did you tell her 3?
No, I did
Yes,
not.
Your Honor.
So this conversation didn't happen?
No, it didn't.
Yes, Your Honor, it did.
So,
I have no reason to
Mr.
sit
Harris,
here.
have you developed a relationship with Jasmine at all?
No.
We don't know who's telling the truth about the conversation happening or not, but if there's a third possibility, this would be more messy. Ms. Ritchell claims the other potential father wanted to take responsibility, but how come she's making another man pay for the child support?
I want him to take care of his daughter.
Your Honor.
That's all I want, is for him to take care of his daughter.
How can you take care of a child that you're not even bonded with when you have the child and a guy there who take care of your child and who loves your child as his own? Why would you want to break that?
I want Mr. Harris to be in her life.
Ms. Ritchell's reason may not be reasonable, as Mr. Harris's wife pointed out, but it seems valid only if Mr. Harris is definitely the biological father of her daughter. However, if Mr. Harris isn't the father, Ms. Ritchell has some real apology to do and real debts to pay. Let's get to the result.
Mr. Harris, you are the father.
Ms. Epstein wants to be sure if who she thinks is her father is truly her father, and that may be hard since she has never met him before. Will this go right or wrong? Let's find out.
Ms. Epstein, you admit that since finding out you were adopted, you've spent your entire life feeling misunderstood and out of place. Now, 27 years after your adoption, you say you may have found your birth father. Today is the very first time you'll meet him.
Ms. Epstein found out she was adopted, and that turned her whole world around since she didn't feel like she belonged where she was adopted. Interestingly, Ms. Epstein has left the shores of confusion, as this man in the courtroom may be her biological father, and there's only one way to know.
Take me back, Ms. Epstein. Tell me about your childhood.
When I was born, I was adopted before birth. I was raised by a very loving, very caring family, and everything was great as a child. And then as I got sent to a boarding school, so they're like escort service, and an escort service came. They handcuffed me, put a bag over my head, and
The atmosphere gets emotional with Ms. Epstein's tears. Okay, being rebellious at teenage ages seems normal, but Ms. Epstein's story of rebelliousness seems to be over the top, and the way her adoptive parents handled it probably put doubts about them being her biological parents in her head.
And I adopted both of my children out to a wonderful family. But like, I'm following the same steps as my birth mother, and I don't want to. So that also is really hard. I know that they're in a better place, just like I know that I was in a better place. But it's still hard to give your children up for adoption. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Ms. Epstein's story went from being a rebellious teenager who left home completely to a sweet love story that bore children, and suddenly back to a pathetic situation where she was homeless and had to adopt her children to another family. Whew, that's a lot to take in. Ms. Epstein thinks it's a cycle in her family, and now she wants to break that cycle.
Mr. Robertson, I have to ask you, knowing that this beautiful young woman might be your daughter, how does it hear just finding out all that she's been through?
It tears me up, hurts me inside that she went through so much, because if she was with me, it would have never happened.
Like everyone else, Mr. Robertson is sad to hear Ms. Epstein's story, but it affects Mr. Robertson more deeply than anyone, since he may be Ms. Epstein's biological father. Mr. Robertson even claimed she would never have gone through that if Ms. Epstein was with him. Good to know.
So, Mr. Robertson, at some point in your life in this time, do you remember having a relationship with her birth mother?
We had a one-night thing, and it was at a party. And to be honest with you, I can't remember if I was drunk that time or if I'm just getting old, but I really don't remember it too good. But I guess we did. And I was, right about then, I was getting custody of my 6 kids, which I raised all by myself from 8 months old to 8 years old till now.
Mr. Robertson seems like a good stand-up man, hearing him talk about raising about 8 other kids. However, a one-night stand seems to have led to Ms. Epstein's birth, and her supposed biological father wasn't told about her birth. Ms. Epstein's mother probably thought it would be a hassle to try to convince Mr. Robertson of how their one-night stand turned out.
Facebooked me about a year ago and still hadn't told me. I was friends with her brother. I was friends with her brother for all my life, and he was on Facebook, and I asked him, why didn't you tell me I had a daughter? He said, I didn't know until a few months ago. We've got a good relationship now, her and I do, over the phone. I think she looks a lot like the family.
You do?
And I'm hoping she is mine, yeah.
Mrs. Epstein's mother still didn't inform Mr. Robertson about Ms. Epstein? It is like Ms. Epstein forgot her daughter the moment she handed her over to another family. Or maybe she just didn't want to open up old wounds, but that seems unfair to Ms. Epstein.
And I've talked to Paul before, and he said that he saw my mom pregnant at the grocery store or whatever. So, and he always doubted it. So it's not like he had no idea that I was around or that I existed. He never asked my mom about it.
Mr. Robertson, did you admit this to Miss Epstein?
I told her that me and her mother worked in the same place. She worked in another part of the area where I worked.
Ms. Epstein is losing her mind knowing her real family was bonding behind her back. Ms. Epstein wants to know why her potential biological father did not confront her mother when he saw her with a baby bump. Ms. Epstein really needs an explanation of what really happened.
When you got in touch with your birth mother and you asked for Mr. Robertson's name, did she give it to you willingly? How did that happen?
She forgot his name. Then she told me, she asked her brother what his name was, and he said it was Paul Robertson. His name is not Paul Robertson, it's Robertson.
Miss Epstein did a really hard job looking for her biological father. If only Ms. Epstein's mother had informed Mr. Robertson that they probably had a child together, maybe Miss Epstein's childhood would have had a different outcome. That didn't happen, so let's know what the future holds for Ms. Epstein.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Robertson is the biological father of Ms. Epstein, that Mr. Robertson is her father.
It's so good, baby.
Thank you.
Some one-night stands really do result in pregnancy, but sometimes, just like the name implies, it is just a one-night thing and nothing else comes from it. Mr. Carroll and Ms. Goggins want to know, which is it, the former or the latter?
Mr. Carroll, you are here to prove to your ex-girlfriend, Ms. Goggins, that you are the biological father of her 26-year-old daughter, Shirletha Carroll.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say when your daughter was 5 years old, the defendant told you another man was her father, but you refused to believe it.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's an interesting twist, seeing Mr. Carroll isn't the one-night stand in question. Instead, it's Ms. Goggins' cross, and she believes the one-night stand led to the pregnancy of her daughter. But Mr. Carroll disagrees with her. Mr. Carroll believes Ms. Goggins is denying him of his daughter.
Carroll, what will these results mean for you today?
Oh, it mean an awful lot because it's been many years that done went.
I understand, sir. Take your time.
And I know I love Lily. I always try to. That she my daughter. Can't nobody tell me otherwise. This is my daughter.
Nobody in the world can tell Mr. Carroll a different thing about his possible daughter. Mr. Carroll wants to find out if Ms. Goggins' daughter is his daughter for sure, but Mr. Carroll doesn't look like he would care if he's told otherwise because he believes that's his daughter.
Ms. Goggins, you say you had a one-night stand and you're so sure that this one-night stand is your daughter's father. Why are you so certain?
With Jesse, we were basically broken up, and then I end up going to her father saying that I needed someone to talk to, so me and him end up having sex, and I knew that it was
the one-night stand.
Miss Goggins said she and Mr. Carroll had broken up when the one-night stand situation happened. Also, Ms. Goggins says she told Mr. Carroll about the baby's father since she got pregnant, which is different from the 5-year interval Mr. Carroll had claimed.
First of all, me and Tina at that time was still in a relationship. It was just shaky. Lily was 5 years old, and she came over my mother's house, and she told me that she had something to tell me. And then she told Lily would go off. She's 5, so she's trying to go off or whatever. She was like, "No, Lily, I want Lily to hear this."
Mr. Carroll recounts the story of their relationship not totally done as it was just shaky, and reaffirms that their daughter was indeed 5 years of age when Goggins told him he may not be the biological father. However, Ms. Goggins says Mr. Carroll might just have been hurt that she had a sexual affair with another man, and that's probably why it's so hard for him to take in.
I do recall we went over there one day and it was a discussion about me not being his daughter, and you know.
In front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right there. And what did I say, Lily?
What do you remember hearing?
I mean, I just recall that it was just arguments, arguing.
And then what do you remember me saying to you at the end, when it's all said and done, what did I say?
I mean, he always has stated to me that he's my dad.
That's
so,
right.
You know,
I don't deny that.
Mr. Carroll seems to be vindicated since the daughter says she faintly remembers the scenario with a couple of arguments. Again and again, Ms. Goggins says Mr. Carroll knew way before 5 years after the baby's birth that she wasn't his. Could Ms. Goggins be telling the truth?
In the early parts of her life, you were there as her father.
I was there.
You was just there too because you did not provide, so you just was there.
I was there.
That's all you was there.
I was there. She was my daughter. She was around me. I did a lot. I was come from the street life, so a lot of times I wasn't like I should have been. I'm here for Lily as her father, and if she ever need anything from me, if I could provide it for her, she can get it.
Mr. Carroll genuinely wants the DNA test to come back positive, but it seems Mr. Goggins would do anything for that result to come back negative. The back and forth between these two makes it look like their relationship was never in a good place, or maybe things happened and messed it all up.
But I want to understand what your thoughts were growing up. Were you always told by your mom that Mr. Carroll was not your biological father and this other gentleman was?
Your Honor, yes, I have, but to be honest, Jesse haven't been in my life. You know, I'm just going off of pictures, you know.
Ms. Goggins' daughter agrees that Mr. Carroll was there through pictures and not responsibilities like Mr. Goggins said, but she also believes the other man is her biological father like her mother has been saying.
Mr. Carroll on it.
Yes, I did. I asked my mom once I got the birth certificate and seen that he was on there. I asked her, and basically she said, ask the other guy. She told me ask the other guy why he's not on there, you know. And
did you ever ask him?
No, I never asked him.
While Ms. Goggins and Mr. Carroll keep going back and forth over, "You're not the daddy, I'm the daddy," Miss Shirlitha looks so confused and sad because she didn't have to go through this. We need to know who's right at the end of the day. Will it be Ms. Goggins or Mr. Carroll? Let's find out.
Mr. Carroll, you are her father.
Mr. Richardson wants to confirm if he's truly Ms. Robbins' son's biological father, and knowing the truth before long-term commitment won't hurt anyone but Ms. Robbins think otherwise.
Mr. Richardson, you claim you made a huge mistake. You signed the birth certificate of the defendant's 2-month-old son, DeMarlon, even though you doubt you are his father. You want to prove your case before you end up paying child support for a baby you know isn't yours. Ms. Robbins, you say the plaintiff's only mistake is denying your son because you claim the DNA will prove that he is DeMarlon's father. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Richardson doesn't have a problem with paying child support, but he is itching to know if that son truly belongs to him, while Ms. Robbins claims she has nothing to be scared of, as she knows for sure that her son is indeed also Mr. Richardson's biological son.
Mr. Richardson, why'd you sign the birth certificate if you doubted paternity?
It was at the moment, and I felt that, I don't know, it may be mine, but I don't know.
He was there during the whole entire time, during delivery and pregnancy. He was there, but he also signed the recognition of parentage.
Mr. Richardson stepped up to the plate after childbirth to sign the birth certificate, even though he had doubts during pregnancy. Mr. Richardson claims his emotions made him do so, and of course, the million-dollar question he asked Ms. Robbins, to which she responded that Mr. Richardson is her son's father.
Deanna, you gotta realize, when I was dating her, she's very sneaky.
So are you. So are you.
How, Mr. Richardson?
She was sneaky from the start when I met her, Deanna. I met her at a club, came, approached her, didn't think she was gonna give me the time of day or nothing.
So he pursued me.
I did.
Yep.
You're right about that. I did pursue you.
For a long time.
I pursued after. I got out there.
Yep.
Married? Mr. Richardson pursued Ms. Robbins knowing she was married, and he claimed she's sneaky. Yeah, she might be, but Mr. Richardson isn't left out of the loop just like Ms. Robbins said. However, Ms. Robbins claimed she told Mr. Richardson that she was divorced, and with proof to back it up.
Especially if it was just me and him for the last 3 years. That was at first.
No,
and
but
you know
when
that.
you showed me that paper, it was on the internet, I looked it up.
And he said that anybody can be on the internet, but I showed him the declaration. So he just doesn't believe anything, including that DeMarlon is his.
Ms. Robbins not having the declaration of her own divorce sounds weird, but it isn't impossible. Also, Ms. Robbins puts the icing on the cake to reaffirming her certainty that Mr. Richardson is the biological father of her son by saying he was the only man she was with during the window of conception.
Okay, tell the court what happened.
So the night it was during Christmas, and we had just bought a couch, and I just moved into my place, and within that week time, like me and Mr. Richardson basically gave our house a blessing, or my house a blessing.
A blessing that I didn't finish.
Okay, but that's not no one's fault but your.
Mr. Richardson seems so childish in this courtroom. Ms. Richardson believes Ms. Robbins' son is not his since he was unable to finish the acclaimed blessing they were trying to do. Just kind, Ms. Robbins said once again, that's no one's fault but Mr. Richardson's.
She asked me, what do you want to do? I said, we're gonna have the baby because if we doing some stupid stuff, I'm not gonna blame this child. We're gonna have it.
So you decided that we should have the baby?
Pretending I was happy. I just pretended.
Oh, you were pretending?
I'm pretending like I was happy.
You were pretending like you were happy?
That's nice. That's nice.
Pregnant sex? Okay. Mr. Richardson pretended to be happy about the pregnancy and stayed with Ms. Robbins. That's unfair. Mr. Richardson could have acted genuinely and opted for a DNA test at birth, but he chose to do the opposite, and he's crying wolf in the courtroom right now.
Mr. Richardson, please tell me if there's any other reason you have doubt.
Oh my God, there's a million, but I'm gonna try to narrow down to at least one or two. I went to one doctor's appointment with her, right? And then I went to go to the other ones. She told me, no, you don't have to come.
I don't need
said,
you to
why?
hold my hand.
I don't need you to hold my hand.
You're telling me
That's what made
he's
you...
not mine, this is not my baby, all this the whole time.
Mr. Richardson must have thought Ms. Robbins opted to go for the second doctor's appointment with the biological father. That's illogical, but then again, it seems logical at the same time. Mr. Richardson also believes Ms. Robbins was being sneaky given the way she could get her apartment rent paid after she had claimed not to have any money 3 days prior. Miracles happen, Mr. Richardson.
So is this the first time you've tried to get a DNA test, Mr. Richardson?
No, it's not, Yana. She made an appointment. We supposed to split 135. It was 2 something to go get a DNA test. She said, I set an appointment. I'm gonna come at 4:30 when you get off work. I got there
But
at 3
I made
o'clock.
the appointment.
Yes, you made the appointment.
Mrs. Robbins becomes the one at fault after not going for the appointment scheduled for DNA testing. That must have surely planted more doubt in Mr. Richardson's mind, coupled with the previous stories. Ms. Robbins may be 100% sure that's Mr. Richardson's baby, but Mr. Richardson can't be, and we are here to find that out.
Mr. Richardson, you are the father. You really didn't know?
Having a family member on your enemy's side may be one of the most cruel things any human can deal with. But what if the family member opposing the person is on the right side of the situation? Let's find out who's right, whether it will be Ms. Hicks or her sister being on her potential baby daddy's side.
Ms. Hicks, you say the sins of your past have brought you into court today to save your relationship. You are petitioning the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Honesty. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Smith, you say you have medical evidence to prove you are not Honesty's father.
Ms. Hicks is without a doubt reaffirming that her baby belongs to Mr. Smith, but Mr. Smith claims that's false, and he's in court with Ms. Hicks's sister to further prove that he isn't Ms. Hicks's baby's biological father.
So, Ms. Hicks, how does it make you feel hearing Mr. Smith deny paternity?
I know I've only slept with him, and I know who my children belong to. Like, hearing this from him and him getting it from my own full-blooded sister, it just bores me.
Tell the truth.
It bores me.
Ms. Hicks says she knows who her children belong to, and she isn't lying about this one either. On the other hand, Ms. Hicks's sister cuts in saying that's a big fat lie, because the baby in question isn't Mr. Smith's baby. Like the valid question Ms. Hicks asked, have they been sleeping around together?
Mr. Smith, you hear the allegations that have been stated thus far. This is what leads you to believe you are not the biological father of Honesty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
I used to work out a lot, and one time I strained myself too hard, and I had to go to the hospital, and the doctor told me that I couldn't have kids, that my testicles had dropped by that time.
Aside from Ms. Hicks's sister being on Mr. Smith's side that he's not the father, Mr. Smith also chips in another factor that makes him doubt he's the father of Ms. Hicks's baby. Mr. Smith worked a lot and his testicles dropped, leading to him being diagnosed with a condition where he can't have kids. Now the situation is dicey.
Did you inform Ms. Hicks about this when you all were in a sexual relationship?
No, Your Honor. He never informed me about any of this. When he did tell me, this came up like 2 months after Honesty was born. Like, she's living proof that you can have kids. I didn't make this baby myself.
Ms. Hicks says Mr. Smith didn't inform her about his condition until the baby was born, but Mr. Smith claimed that was the opposite of what happened because he's sure he had told Ms. Hicks that he can't have kids. Ms. Hicks says it was impossible she made the baby herself since she didn't have any sexual contact with any other man. Whew. Oops.
I told her, once her son was born, she was cheating a lot of time with multiple men.
You know that for certain?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you know that? Explain.
Her sister used to tell me that she used to sleep with this guy and that guy, and I didn't believe her at first, but until it started coming to me about the dude she talked to all the time, friendly with.
There's the issue of cheating, but that's not as bad as hearing Ms. Hicks's own sister tattletales on her. And Ms. Hicks's sister is there claiming she did that because no one knows her sister better, and Mr. Smith is a sweet man. That's fair, but what's her relationship exactly with Mr. Smith anyway?
Mr. Smith?
I went through her phone and found text message, and it said when I can get that kitty cat.
Oh, you saw a text message?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
And you submitted your recollection of that exchange to the court. The other guy said, I miss that kitty cat. And Ms. Hicks responded, you know he leaves, so you can come over anytime.
Yes, Your Honor.
The cheating saga from Ms. Hicks's end continues. A kitty cat message without an actual kitty cat really sounds suspicious, Ms. Hicks. However, Ms. Hicks claims she can't even remember the particular message, but her sister dropped another bombshell that there was physical evidence too, where she was caught red-handed.
You ever had occasion to witness firsthand the fact that she was with somebody else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me that dude jumped out the window.
Yeah, the guy jumping out the window situation.
What happened?
Well, I came out the car. I seen somebody jump out the window.
Ms. Hicks's sister and Mr. Smith double the dose with the story of a man jumping out of the window one time when Mr. Smith got back home. That made Mr. Smith have more doubts, but Ms. Hicks claims that's another lie.
I've been throwing up and I've been feeling funny, so I think you need to take a pregnancy test. So he goes to the store and comes back with a pregnancy test that has 2 in a box. I took the first one, it came out negative. He was like, go ahead and take the other one so we can see the results of that one.
Ms. Hicks reveals how happy Mr. Smith was when he got to know she was pregnant, claiming he was happy he was going to be a father. But Mr. Smith claims that was not what happened. Mr. Smith said he had faked the happiness because he didn't want to hurt Ms. Hicks. Maybe it's time to get the result.
Mr. Smith, you are the father.
In this case, Mr. Smith and Ms. Smith are on opposite sides of the story. Mr. Smith is determined to prove that he's the biological father of Ms. Smith's daughter, but Ms. Smith doesn't think that's true.
Mr. Smith, you have brought your estranged wife to court to prove that you are the biological father of her 4-year-old daughter, Christina Cookie Smith. You signed the birth certificate and have been daddy since she was born and claim you know you are her father. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Smith, you admit that you allowed your husband to sign the birth certificate and initially believed he was Cookie's father.
Ms. Smith saying her daughter isn't Mr. Smith's biological daughter because she's growing up without Mr. Smith's body features seems unreasonable, except there's another person in the equation that the baby may be resembling as she's growing older.
Mr. Smith, take us back to the beginning of your relationship with Mrs. Smith.
In the beginning, we actually met in middle school. We went out through, I want to say 7th, 8th grade. And then we reconnected after high school.
All right, and you dated, fell in love?
Right, we actually got married.
Okay.
Oh, nude photos? Indeed. There's another person in the equation which must have triggered Ms. Smith into thinking her baby belongs to the other man. Mr. Smith must be so confident to still believe he's the biological father of the baby.
Nude photos of your wife or of the man?
Excuse me, Your Honor. I've never seen any of these alleged text messages that he's talking about.
Well, did you send them? I mean, even if you haven't seen them, did you send them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Smith was going to defend herself that she hadn't seen the texts, but unexpectedly, she agreed to sending them. Why try to deny what you did? Mr. Smith's mother must be a good woman to have her son running to her and not breaking down over that situation.
And so you found out you were pregnant, you told Mr. Smith, when you found out she was pregnant, were you happy about it?
Extremely happy.
You were extremely happy.
Extremely happy.
And she said she hoped that this would help rekindle your relationship, did it?
I didn't know what love was until I met this person.
Right.
So then, and I'm having a baby with this person as well. You can't ask for more. I already got everything I need.
Mr. Smith is really in love with Ms. Smith, but Ms. Smith, though, Mr. Smith didn't even doubt if the pregnancy was his or not. He still wanted to see his baby come into the world, regardless of the circumstances. That's a good man right there.
At what point do you start having paternity doubts about Christina?
So I'm in the shower one day. I believe Khalita's at work, Cookie's out there. I'm watching her, and I just noticed something just that doesn't need to be there. You know, I didn't put it there. I know everything that goes on in my house, so.
No way! Have a child thinking you're the daddy and suddenly seeing on social media that someone else is parading himself as her father with a picture of them together? That's insane. Anyone could lose their mind over that kind of thing. Miss Smith really has some explaining to do.
Well, Your Honor, his name is Joseph. I actually met Joseph after we separated, and around the time I was very vulnerable and he was the only one showing me any type of attention or any love, which I needed because...
Ms. Smith's explanation may sound like a pretty good excuse because of emotions, but without protection. That's out of line. And to top it all off, Ms. Smith didn't tell the other man named Joseph that she was married. That's sneaky. It didn't seem like she was lonely. She just wanted to do what she had been doing before.
That there was a possibility that this other gentleman could be her biological father the entire time?
At first, I had no doubt in my mind that Christian, wasn't the father of my child. But as Christina got older and...
Ms. Smith thought her baby was Mr. Smith's biological father at first, but according to her, the baby's features didn't match Mr. Smith's body features. Ms. Smith began to doubt the paternity after 2 years. 2 years may seem short, but it's a lot of time still.
I seen her walking down the sidewalk, and I actually ran behind her, and we exchanged numbers. We talked on the phone for a little bit, not too much in depth, but we talked for a little bit, and then maybe a couple days after that, we met up.
Did she tell you she was married?
No, ma'am, I had no clue.
So when did you find out about the baby?
I don't know a time verbatim, but...
Hearing from the other man, it didn't seem like he was at fault for anything. Ms. Smith caused the mess. Ms. Smith claimed she was lonely when they separated and hooked up with another man, when in fact Mr. Smith initially separated from her due to her unfaithfulness. Ms. Smith still made the same mistake, and that is what is about to define her future.
Of Smith versus Smith, pertaining to whether Mr. Smith or Mr. Prater is the biological father of 4-year-old Christina Smith. It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Prater.